Okay, so real talk. When was the last time you genuinely got excited about a James Bond video game? Like, actually excited. Not, oh cool, another Bond game. But like, wait, this might actually be incredible because, honestly, for me, it's been a long time.
Intuition in modern spycraft. That's the very reason I'm bringing back the double O's.
Need I state the obvious?
We haven't had a proper James Bond game since 2012. That's over a decade. And the last one, 007 Legends, was not great. I think we can all agree on that. But 007 First Light, this one feels different. And today I want to sit down with you guys and actually break down why this game is such a big deal. Not just, oh, it's a Bond game, wow, but genuinely what makes this one special, what they're doing differently, and whether you should actually care about it. Because I think some people are sleeping on this one, and I don't want that to happen. So grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Alright, so before we even talk about the game itself, we need to talk about the situation we're in right now as Bond fans. James Bond has been completely absent from gaming for over 10 years. That's insane when you think about it. This is one of the biggest entertainment franchises on the planet. Movies, books, merchandise everywhere. But in gaming, total silence. And it's not like the older Bond games were bad either. GoldenEye 007 on the N64 is literally one of the most important first-person shooters ever made. Like, that game changed gaming. Nightfire was fantastic. Everything or Nothing was genuinely great. Bloodstone had its moments. Bond had a solid run in gaming for a while. And then, nothing, for over a decade. So when IO Interactive, yes, the people behind the Hitman series, announced they were making a brand new James Bond game, people lost their minds. And honestly, rightfully so. Because here's the thing about IO Interactive. These guys don't just make good games. They make games with incredible systems. Hitman is one of the most replayable game franchises ever made. The way they build levels, the way they give you freedom, the way everything feels like a living, breathing world, that's exactly the kind of studio you want making a Bond game. And personally, when I heard it was them, I went from cautiously interested to genuinely excited. Because if anyone can do Bond justice in gaming right now, it's IO Interactive. So what's the game actually about? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. 007 First Light is a Bond origin story, and I want to be really clear about what that means because it's important. This isn't Daniel Craig's Bond. This isn't Pierce Brosnan's Bond. This isn't connected to any movie at all. It's a completely fresh, standalone story about a 26-year-old James Bond who is just starting out. You play as Bond when he's still a naval air crewman, before he's 007, before he's the suave, polished super spy we all know. He stumbles into MI6, gets recruited, goes through training, and then, of course, things go sideways. The story involves a mission to stop a rogue agent that ends in tragedy, and Bond has to team up with a senior MI6 agent named Greenway, played by Lenny James by the way, which is awesome casting, to expose a deep conspiracy. And here's why I love this setup. If you're a die-hard Bond fan, you're going to love seeing all the classic Bond elements get introduced for the first time. Moneypenny, Q, M, the gadgets, the cars, you get to experience all of that in this fresh, new context. But if you've never watched a single Bond film in your life, you don't need to. The game is designed to be completely self-contained. You'll learn everything you need to know just by playing. That's honestly really smart writing. It respects the legacy without being held hostage by it. Oh, and the actor playing Bond, Patrick Gibson, Irish actor, probably best known for his work in Dexter: Original Sin. And from everything we've seen, he brings this brilliant quality to Bond. Young, a little reckless, impatient, but you can already see the greatness underneath. It feels right. So the big question everyone asks is, how Hitman is this? Like, is it basically just Hitman with a Bond skin? And the answer is, kind of, but also no. It's more nuanced than that. From what's been shown and what people who've had early access have talked about, the game feels like a really smart blend of two things. You've got the open-ended, multiple approaches style of Hitman mixed with the cinematic, story-driven, action-adventure feel of something like Uncharted. So picture this. You're in London, there's a big gala happening at an art museum in Kensington. You need to get upstairs to your objective, but it's blocked off by guards. And instead of just fighting your way through, you're walking around, talking to people, listening in on conversations, slowly figuring out multiple different ways to get up there. Maybe you impersonate a photojournalist. Maybe you deal with a guard who's running late for his shift. Maybe you find another way entirely. The point is, you have options, and that feels very, very Hitman. But it's not just that. The game also funnels you into these bigger, tighter, more cinematic action sequences where it becomes more linear and intense. Big set-piece moments, chase sequences, dramatic confrontations, so it's not like you're just wandering around a sandbox forever. The game is moving forward, the story is pushing you, and you're making choices within that momentum. I think that's actually a really clever design decision because pure sandbox can sometimes feel slow or directionless, and pure linear action can feel restrictive. This blend sounds like it could give you the best of both worlds. Okay, this is my favorite part to talk about, the gadgets, because this is where the game really feels like James Bond. So Bond has his iconic watch, right? Well, in this game, the watch is basically his Swiss Army knife for stealth situations. And the things you can do with it are genuinely cool. You can use it to hack into environmental systems, turn on an air conditioning unit to mask the sound of your movement, make a laptop malfunction to create a distraction, trigger things in the environment to confuse or hurt enemies. It's very much like having Batman's gadget belt, but in spy form. And then there's a laser built into the watch. You can zap an enemy in the eyes to temporarily blind them and slip past. Or use that same laser to damage locks and break into places. Damage locks and blind people. This watch is doing a lot of work. Now here's a cool detail. Using your watch stuff burns through a blue power meter on your HUD, so you can't just spam gadgets endlessly. You need to look around for things like laptops, phones, anything electronic to recharge it. That's a nice little gameplay loop that keeps you engaged with the environment. Bond also has his phone, and yes, his phone shoots poison darts, because of course it does. Hit an enemy with a dart, and they get so nauseous, they have to walk over to a trash can and throw up. While they're busy doing that, you slip past, pickpocket them, do whatever you need to do. It's very Assassin's Creed-ish in how it works, and I'm very into it. There are also other gadgets that have been teased: a pen, a lighter, earbuds that do something special. We don't know exactly how all of them work yet, but the foundation sounds really solid. And what I love about all of this is that it doesn't feel like just stealth for stealth's sake. Every gadget feels purposeful. It feels like Bond is actually using his spy training and tools to outsmart people, not just sneak around waiting for opportunities. That's the fantasy, right? Being the smartest person in the room. Okay, so this is something I haven't seen many people talk about enough, and I think it's one of the most interesting mechanics in the game. Bond can bluff, as in, you can literally talk your way out of getting caught. So imagine you're walking through an area you're not supposed to be in. Most people won't even look at you twice, but certain guards or security people will notice you, get suspicious, and start walking towards you. Now, in a normal game, that's your cue to either run or fight, but here, you can hit the bluff button and Bond just talks his way out, makes up some excuse on the spot. Smooth, confident, maybe a little funny, and the guard backs off. There's a cooldown though. The guard will eventually start getting suspicious again, so it's not a permanent solution. It's more like a get out of jail free card for sticky situations. But what makes this work beyond just the mechanics is the writing. From what people have seen, the things Bond says in these bluff moments are actually clever and funny. It captures that classic Bond wit. He's not panicking, he's charming. And that matters because it's not just a gameplay mechanic, it's character work. Also, there's a lightning bolt resource tied to bluffing that you can fill up by doing things in the environment, taking out enemies, interacting with stuff. So managing your resources, the blue power meter for gadgets, the green resource for things like poison darts, the lightning bolt for bluffing, adds a nice layer of strategy to how you approach each situation. Now eventually, because it always does, stealth fails. Someone spots you, a gun goes off, things go loud, and this is where the combat comes in. And honestly, from what's been described, it sounds a lot of fun. First, shooting. Bond can sprint, vault over cover, snap to cover, run from one piece of cover to another. It feels like a third-person shooter with some older school cover mechanics mixed in. Think PS3 era cover systems, but modernized. And it works. Here's a detail I really like though. Guns don't have infinite ammo. You basically use whatever's in the gun you picked up, and when it's empty, you move to the next one. Pick up a dead guard's weapon, grab a gun off a table, whatever you can find. When you're completely out, you can even throw the empty gun at someone's face as a last resort. This keeps combat fast and improvisational. You're never just sitting in one spot, burning through unlimited bullets. You're constantly moving, adapting, making decisions, and even in gunfights, your gadgets matter. Shoot down a chandelier, hack a system to blow up a vent pipe and create a fog screen. Use the environment creatively to survive. It keeps the spy feeling even when the stealth has completely fallen apart. part. Then there's the hand-to-hand combat, and this one I think is going to surprise people. Bond can punch, dodge, parry. Enemies will telegraph certain attacks that you can parry to open them up for a bigger counter. He can grab enemies and physically run them into walls, tables, mirrors, throw them into things, grab whatever's lying around, a plate, a vase, a brick, and smash it into someone's face. It sounds like it has real Uncharted DNA in terms of feel, but with more environmental creativity. And honestly, the contextual animations, the way enemies react to being thrown into different things, sounds like it's going to be incredibly satisfying. There's also a license to kill system worth mentioning. You can't just pull out your gun whenever you want. Firearms are for when there's an actual threat, someone draws on you, or it's a story moment that opens up full combat. It's a nice design choice that keeps the spy fantasy intact and prevents the game from turning into a mindless shooter. So the big question, how long is this game? The developers have been targeting around 20 hours for the main story, which honestly for a game of this quality and ambition, I think that's pretty solid. That's not a short game by any means. Now, will it actually be exactly 20 hours? Probably not for everyone. Difficulty settings, how much you explore, how often you replay sections differently, all of that will affect your experience. I personally think for my first playthrough just going at a normal pace, I'd probably land somewhere between 15 and 20 hours. But here's where the game's replayability comes in, and this is actually really exciting. There's something called TACSIM mode, which stands for Tactical Simulation Mode, and this is basically like Hitman's Freelancer mode. You can go back into missions and replay them with additional challenge modifiers, things that change the parameters and make it harder or more interesting, and unlock rewards, mostly cosmetics, for completing them. For a game built around multiple ways to approach objectives, this is perfect. The whole point is that you might stealth one mission on your first run, and then go back and try it completely differently. Maybe guns blazing with certain modifiers, maybe zero gadgets, that kind of thing. I really hope they nail this because it's the difference between a game you play once and put down versus a game you keep coming back to. And with the Hitman DNA in its veins, I think IO Interactive knows exactly how to make replayability work. Look, I want to be real with you guys. There are some things we genuinely don't know yet, and I'd rather be honest about them than overhype everything. We've seen the game running on PC and it looks great, but console performance? We don't know. Some gameplay footage has looked a little rough in terms of frame rate. We can't judge that until the game is actually out and in people's hands. Bond games are famous for the cars, right? We've seen a little bit. There was one sequence involving a garbage truck going through an alleyway which was pretty linear and on rails. But what about the actual car chases, the Aston Martin moments? How do vehicles actually feel to drive? IO Interactive hasn't done driving in their recent games at all, so this is genuinely a question mark. It could be great, it could be rough. We really don't know. Now about pacing, 20 hours is a long time. Is the game going to stay interesting throughout? Are they going to keep introducing new mechanics and situations to keep things fresh? Or is it going to feel repetitive by hour 15? That's something only the full game will answer. And then the boss fights. Hand-to-hand combat sounds great for regular encounters, but what about big boss fights? Those tend to be where games like this either shine or completely fall apart. I really hope they put some creativity into those moments. These aren't reasons to not be excited. I'm still very excited, but I think it's worth going in with clear eyes rather than assuming everything will be perfect. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this game means beyond just the game itself. IO Interactive has apparently said they want 007 First Light to be the start of a trilogy, 3 Bond games, an arc, a story that develops over multiple entries with this younger Bond growing into the 007 we all know. That is huge if they pull it off, because it means this isn't just a one-off Bond game, it's the foundation of something bigger. And if the first game is great, the potential for where this goes is genuinely exciting. On top of that, there's a new Bond movie in development. Denis Villeneuve is directing it. Stephen Knight, who did Peaky Blinders, is writing the script. It's targeting around 2028. So we're heading into a genuine Bond renaissance. Great games, great films, all happening around the same time. The last time Bond was this culturally relevant across multiple mediums simultaneously was probably the early Daniel Craig era, and that was incredible. And one more thing, the theme song. Lana Del Rey did the theme, First Light, produced by David Arnold, who's been composing Bond music for decades. From what people are saying, it's fully committed to the classic Bond theme sound, orchestral, dramatic, cinematic. That matters because a great Bond theme sets the tone for everything. So look, here's where I land on all of this. 007 First Light is a big deal, not just because we haven't had a Bond game in over a decade, not just because IO Interactive is an incredible studio, But because everything they're doing with this game feels intentional, thoughtful, and genuinely exciting, the origin story angle means anyone can jump in. The Hitman meets Uncharted structure sounds like a genuinely fresh take on the spy game formula. The gadget systems sound fun and creative, the combat sounds satisfying, the replayability could keep people coming back for a long time. Are there question marks? Yeah, performance, driving, pacing, boss fights, these are real unknowns. But the foundation looks really good. It releases May 27th, 2026 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Switch 2 version is coming later in the summer. Personally, I'm excited. Like, genuinely excited in a way I haven't been about a Bond game in a very long time. And I think if you give it a shot, you might feel the same way. Let me know down in the comments. Are you picking this up? Are you a longtime Bond fan? Or is this your first introduction to 007? And if you've been a Bond gaming fan for a while, what's your favorite Bond game from back in the day? Mine is Nightfire. I'm not even going to pretend otherwise. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. It genuinely helps out a lot. And if you're new here and you want more gaming content like this, consider subscribing. We do this every single day. But yeah, that's why 007 First Light is a big deal.